Live from the Hoboken Studios in New Jersey, I'm Tom Anderson. This is Terrific Talk.
Terrific Talk Podcast. Welcome back, Terrific Talk Podcast.
Here comes the host.
I'm your host, Tom Anderson.
First, behind the bag, it gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
Ooh, welcome to Terrific Talk. Beautiful day here from the Hoboken Studios in New Jersey. Some great news to share with you today. The website is finally done. We officially have a home where you can listen to every single Terrific Talk podcast. The new website is clnsmedia.com. CLNS Media is now the home of this podcast and 40 other great podcasts and vidcasts covering the world of sports, finance, comedy, and lifestyles. Thank you for your patience. The wait is finally over. Go check out clnsmedia.com today. The site looks great. All right, today's episode is brought to you by MyBookie, where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on. And if you want to make money betting the games, you got to go to mybookie.ag. They have odds on every matchup and a mobile site that makes wagering on your smartphone a breeze. So easy. Join now and MyBookie will match your deposit with up to a 50% bonus. Just use the promo code TERRIFIC to activate the offer. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid. All right, I've got an awesome guest today, Kevin Arnovitz. Kevin is an NBA writer for ESPN, the magazine, and ESPN.com. He's been a writer at ESPN.com since 2008. He's someone I've been reading for years, one of the best in the business. Really excited to have him on today. Let me bring him in here. Kevin Arnovitz, welcome to Terrific Talk.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I basically cold called you. I shot you an email out of nowhere to come on the podcast, and you were nice enough to make it work. I think that says a lot that you'd be willing to take the time to do this, give young writers and reporters out there some advice coming on and sharing your story. Is this something that you like doing, kind of passing along what you know to help people break in the business?
Yeah, I've gotten really lucky, and in some respect it's nice to be able to reflect on that. So yeah, I kind of enjoy it.
Why did you choose sports writing as a career?
You know, I didn't choose it, which is true. In 2005, 2006, that basketball season, I started a blog at the encouragement of a friend who I shared Clippers season tickets with at the time, and it was a time in my life where I wasn't doing a lot of writing, and I missed writing. I was working as a part-time editor at Slate magazine. I was about to enter a phase where I'd be working in public radio, and it was at a moment where I think blogs had taken off in the political and to some extent cultural realm, but sports blogging was still somewhat of a backwater. And I didn't start this blog with any professional or entrepreneurial ambitions. It was just something to do. Like a lot of guys in their early 30s, yeah, I kind of got into my team, and at the time I think there was nobody really writing about covering teams the way my friends and I spoke about the team, and that's no disrespect to anybody who was doing beat work, but I think the papers were really still the only outlet you could get daily coverage of a team, and I think they were still working on the 1982 model, right? So you got game stories, you got the notes column, and every once in a while a feature, a small feature, but you didn't get the true themes that were emerging, the things that the fans really cared about, which was the controversy at small forward, or what is it about this coach that just drives us crazy, or the angst that I think goes, and in some respects I think Bill Simmons at least fashioned a certain brand, but I was even looking at something else, which was I look at the game through the prism of X's and O's. I think we were at a point where in the NBA where salary cap considerations and the task of managing a team became much more like jiu-jitsu, and you wanted to discuss sort of, you were getting a more advanced knowledge of what it took to kind of swing the trades or make the signings, and the cap became kind of a topic unto itself. And so I started this blog, and then a couple of years later, just to jump ahead, I got a call from ESPN, and I think it was a moment when ESPN had, I think, a fairly conventional staff. Most of the writers, and there weren't that many of them at the time, but either kind of came up through sort of the Associated Press daily paper route, and you had John Hollinger doing incredible things sort of with analytics, one of the early guys to do that. But I think they also kind of wanted to get in on this blog thing. I mean, it's easy to forget that, we're talking about the mid-2000s. That was the social media of its time. That was the next big thing. And,
right.
And I think there was a sense that, we've got these great national voices who break news and do wonderful reporting from the inside, but, people are coming to platforms like ESPN.com looking for, slightly different kind of voices. I think a diversity of voice. And, the idea that you could kind of riff for 650 words on something that might not be a story in a paper, but is a really nice, meditation on, hey, what is it Mike D'Antoni's doing over there in Phoenix? Why are they so much fun to watch? Or hey, look at this sort of new X's and O's strategy that Tom Thibodeau, the defensive mastermind in Boston, is doing. And I think, so that was sort of the opportunity, and I didn't go looking for it. There was no job posting. I got a call. What I didn't realize at the time is, I wasn't in the blog universe. It's not like Twitter is today. I was just kind of a lone wolf doing this. I didn't even have my last name on the blog. And now, I think a year and a half in, it was just this diary. It was essentially like writing it for my friends. And, because I don't think any of us really conceived of what was going to happen, which was, you put a comment section, and I thought maybe there'd be 2 or 3. And in the first little bit, there weren't that many. And then it became sort of this hub to some extent for a certain kind of Clipper fan. And what I didn't know is sort of ESPN and their editors were watching. And they have the imperative, we need to hire different kinds of people. Let's get in on some of this blog business. And so I got the call. And at the time I was working at public radio at Marketplace, which is kind of a national show on NPR. And it was sort of an offer too good to refuse, which was, hey, would you like to come over, work for ESPN, and cover basketball, help us build a blog network, team blogs, and basically cover basketball for a living and live in that world. Turn this avocation you've done into a vocation. And so the answer was an easy one.
You started the blog at a time where social media really wasn't a thing, you said. How did you get the word out about the blog? It just word of mouth, it kind of spread? You just started with your friends and it spread?
I have no idea. Well, I think one of the things that happened was, so Henry Abbott, who sort of the true pioneer of the basketball blogosphere, he had a blog that I think had caught on with a segment of NBA fan, and frankly a segment of the league. I think people inside the league you forget that sometimes these execs and people who work in the front office, like, what do they do when they're futzing around on the internet? They're reading about basketball. And he started linking to it in his sort of daily bullets, and when the Clippers caught fire in the playoffs, I think in 2006, Deadspin even kind of linked to it. And I think we forget that before there was Twitter, aggregation was a real service. And the blogs that did it well, whether they were politics or culture or even sector and industry blogs, and certainly sports, people went to that. I mean, I think people went to Henry Abbott's bullets every morning because you knew you were going to get 10 or 11 links to interesting stuff. So if the New York Times had an interesting basketball story, you'd go there. If the guys in Sacramento had a great, Tom Ziller had a great post at Sacktown Royalty, you would know, because it was, we all forget 10 years ago when you wanted to find stuff, you kind of went to the Times or you went to your favorite blogs. You had a bookmark and you read Andrew Sullivan, you went to his blog, or you went to, whatever it was, AV Club. So you needed, and I think those aggregators were the ones that put me on the board. But, it's funny, you just forget how people got their information before Twitter, but that was it. I have no idea. I mean, literally, I remember the first time, I guess in the comment section, there was like a link back feature where if somebody outside of your blog linked to your blog, it would show up in the comment section. I mean, this is how ignorant I was. I mean, I had no, I wasn't I was going to be a digital media journalist. I was just some dude blogging about the Clippers and having a great time doing it and realizing it was a wonderful canvas to kind of express your voice and your neuroses and sort of like, hey, this, to some extent, how you see sports is an extension of how you see the world. And so if you're a rationalist, it comes through in the writing. If you're an emotional person, it comes through in the writing. If you're neurotic, it comes through in the writing. And the more I realized, the more writing about basketball became sort of an expression of of who I was, so it just became fun. And then, I don't even remember how it got around.
It's amazing. When you're looking for like stories to write about, these some you'll take some time on. What do you look for?
It's a really good question. I think I'm trying to find something a little off-center. So, like for right now, I'm working on a Ben Simmons story, and there's going to be a great. I mean, if Lee Jacobs hasn't done the definitive Ben Simmons profile, he'll do it soon. But I wanted to do something, and I have this friend from Melbourne, really close friend here in Los Angeles, and he's a huge NBA fan and also a big Aussie rules football fan. And
Yeah.
Simmons kind of grew up playing Aussie rules, and so my friend insists that when you watch Simmons play basketball, you can see the Aussie rules football
Interesting.
player in him. So I've been talking to a lot of Aussies, and tonight I think I'm going to go get the Jazz are in town. I'm going to try to get Ingles and Exum, and these are guys who grew up playing Aussie rules as well. They're all from Melbourne, which in and of itself is interesting. And so, okay, so there's a way to cover the hot new rookie, but do it in a slightly off-centered way. I like where I think there's a story that has no good guys and no bad guys I'm sort of attracted to. So, like DeMarcus Cousins was a story I did last year, and there's probably a traditional profile to do on DeMarcus, but I was more interested in answering the question, which was here you have this dysfunctional franchise with this combustible player. So the question I always had was, is Sacramento driving DeMarcus crazy, or is DeMarcus sort of driving the King? Like, what is the nature of this symbiotic relationship? And and I love going to report that stuff. So that I love setting up a situation where I'm going to find the mystery story. Like I want to know. I'm the judge in the chambers, and I'm getting all this evidence, and I'm talking to as many people as possible. And I want to be able to not so much render a verdict, but sort of figure out where I'm going to allocate cause. And that was a really fun story to do because he's such a complex character. And I think what I came away with was there was no villain really, other than bad ownership, obviously. But
Right.
but for every testimonial you had that pretty much in some ways kind of assailed him, you also had one that you'd hear this wonderful thing that he did. He's a very kind of quiet, charitable guy who does it exactly the way you'd want to give charity, which is without recognition and sort of quietly. As he said to me, he's like, my mom would kick my ass if she knew I was trying to help an old lady across the street and trying to film it.
Yeah.
And so it was an opportunity. That's the kind of story I love, where you actually, it's just nuance upon nuance. That I want the reader to, in the first paragraph think he's a dick, and then in the second paragraph say, well, wait a minute, there's some extenuating circumstances here, and then realize coming away that these people are really complicated. And anytime I can find a people are complicated story, I think it's interesting. I also I'm trying to get more into science and innovation. I'm a humanities guy, so science has always intimidated me, but what I'm realizing is if you want to really talk about the future of basketball, you need to look at performance, you need to look at science.
Yeah.
What are we learning about the human brain? What are we learning about the human body? And so I'm always looking. Those are tough stories to write because you're talking about concepts, and you always need to have a narrative in there. I mean, I don't like to write pure idea pieces.
Mm-hmm.
You try to find some anecdotes, and that's always, I think, the hardest thing, and it's getting harder to do in some respect. I mean, it's easier the more sources you can cultivate over time, but people are reluctant to share specific anecdotes at times, and so you have this great idea for a story, and you know the concepts, and you know kind of what it means. You just need narrative vehicles in there to kind of tell it.
Quick break to talk about MyBookie. Holiday cash, you need it, and I know where to get it. MyBookie is the place to score serious cash on your sports predictions. You got to go to mybookie.ag. They have odds on every matchup and a mobile site that makes wagering on your smartphone a breeze. Join now, and MyBookie will match your deposit with up to a 50% bonus. Use the promo code TERRIFIC to activate the offer. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid. And listen up, Hoop fans. Basketball season is back, and now that your favorite hardwood heroes have returned to action, it's time for you to put your fantasy knowledge to test to win huge cash prizes every night playing one-day fantasy basketball at DraftKings.com. The best part, you get to draft a new team every day, and drafting a team is arguably the best part of fantasy, right? The only thing better, winning cash doing it. Just ask Dan from St. Louis or Jeremy from Austin. They both turned a $3 entry into $1,000. Huge cash prizes and bragging rights await. Only at DraftKings. Use the code CLNS at DraftKings.com to play free with your first deposit for your share of $10,000 in total prizes tonight. Don't wait. Use code CLNS at DraftKings.com now to choose your lineup, and you can seriously cash in tonight. That's code CLNS only at DraftKings.com. The game inside the game. I was listening to an interview with Steve Kerr and Bill Simmons this week, and he mentioned that the Warriors are kind of coasting right now a little bit. You can tell that they have the on-off switch like all the great teams have done in the past after winning a championship. How much do you think these Warriors really care about getting the number 1 seed and home court advantage? Does it matter?
I mean, I think its significance is greater than zero, but largely because I think Houston's a better team than the sort of the number 2 seeds or the seeds that like the LeBron's teams have let finish in front of them. Right, like that first year in Miami, they got the 2, the Chicago got the 1. And,
right.
They got Boston last year. So, the Cavs are sort of the classic team of as long as we're in the top 2, we don't care. Unfortunately, I think for Golden State, Houston's better than any of those teams. So I do think the Warriors will care. Right now, they look like a team that is so assured of its long-term ultimate success that it doesn't have to even bother fiddling with the smaller successes. And but I think they'll be fine. I mean, this is an enduring thing. It's very funny because I was down there before the game last night. They played the Lakers at Staples Center, and sure enough, like every person associated with the team I was talking to was sort of like, yeah, we're just trying to get engaged. And they all pretty much conceded, hey, how's it going? Things are good? Well, we're trying to, that sort of first greeting you have with people associated with the team, and sure enough, they go out there and they ultimately win in overtime. But look, they're playing a young team with a fraction of the talent they have, and I think they'll be fine. This is one of the reasons I would like a shorter season. I mean, in some ways, can you blame them? I mean, you'd like to have pride of profession and go out there and have blood on your mouth every night if you're a team like that. But at the end of the day, like, can you blame them? When every game represents 1.2% of your season versus think about the NFL where every game represents more than 5% of your season, like 6 or 7%. I mean, basically, a game is literally 4 times as important, or 5 times as important, actually. So, and this is one of the reasons I'd like to see a shortened season. It's just like, can you blame them? Like, okay, what if they lose 3 out of 7? Like, who cares?
It doesn't matter.
Like, there's no consequence, really.
It's so true, and the team like the Warriors, they've been in the finals the last several years. The season is extremely long. These guys are playing in the summer now. It's how do you get up for a game in November? It's tough. I don't blame them either. Kevin, this was great. Thank you so much for coming on today. Everybody check out Kevin's work at ESPN. Follow him on Twitter. His handle is at Kevin Arnovitz. Kevin, great job. Thanks again.